Oh my God, that felt so real. I need to call somebody. You guys, as you can obviously see by the title, who's here today, I'm surprised the man even said yes, if I'm being real with you. I sent him a message and was just like, I'm just going to ask. I have no idea if this man even has time, whatever. I'm just going to ask. And then he had the nerve to say yes. And then I got nervous because I didn't think he was actually going to agree to come on my show. I'm a new podcast. I'd be getting like 25 views. There's no way the Moudou was going to come on my show. But as you can see, I got a beautiful chocolate man on my show today. How you be, brother?
Excellent, excellent. Makes me feel good. Who you talking about again? No, I'm joking.
Please, don't even, because we can get into your credentials because the list is heavy. The list is real heavy.
Thank you, sis. I appreciate it. The recognition for sure.
Before we get into all of that stuff, one of the things that I put in your itinerary is I really want to learn about your name. Like, where does this come from? What does your name mean? Just say it for me, your full name, and then just talk about it.
Yeah, well, the full name is Sheikh Amadou Bamba Mbacke. And there's another title I have, but we'll talk about that. But Sheikh Amadou Bamba Mbacke, it comes from the Mourite tradition of West Africa. I was brought into as a humble student of a tradition of the Mourite Brotherhood under Sheikh Amadou Bamba. And so for those who don't know who Sheikh Amadou Bamba was, he was a living contemporary saint who organized a spiritual revolution to get the French out of West Africa. And after 47 attempts to kill him, which were all unsuccessful, and a whole lot of magic, the French decided that it was no longer worth trying to hold Senegal, and they left. And so he created a movement, a nonviolent movement of what we call Sufic Islam mystics that really tap into the high sciences. So it's not so much Islamic as it is Sufic or ancient traditional approach to spirituality. So anyway, Sarah is a title, and I really can't use that till a lot older, till I'm about 70, which means seer, prophet. Moudou is the brother of Sheikh Amadou Bamba. It basically, Sheikh Amadou Bamba, which basically means he who sees eternity but loves like he'll die tomorrow. And Baqui is, the worker. So he who loves like he'll die tomorrow but has an eye on eternity, who works, and is worthy of great praise. So that's basically what it means. Yep. Moudou Mbacke.
Damn. I remember, like, when I was writing out the itinerary, I remember thinking, like, this, when I say your name, it's just powerful. Like, it feels like pure power. So with that explanation, it makes sense. And I'm really grateful. We're just right into synchronization, because this episode is airing in February, which in America is Black History Month. So each episode in February is going to feature different African-American or indigenous people of color heroes in a little segment. And I don't want to say it wrong. Sheikh Amadou.
Like Moudou with an am in front of it. Amadou Bamba. Yep, Sheikh Amadou Bamba. Yep, Sheikh is the title. Yep, Sheikh is the title for a religious leader, sort of like guru. Sheikh Amadou Bamba. Sheikh Amadou Bamba.
Sheikh Amadou Bamba. That feels like a dance. Sheikh Amadou Bamba.
Right.
So he's actually, I'll go ahead and put his featured clip in this episode. So thank you for introducing the Black History Month segment. We can go ahead and roll that clip. Thank you, Baba Moudou, for introducing this week's radical hero, Sheikh Amadou Bamba. Sheikh's life and legacy is nothing short of miraculous. So here's a few reasons to hopefully inspire you to do your own research and to get to know this miracle of a human being. As Moudou said, he survived dozens of assassination attempts by French colonizers, to the point where they essentially gave up and just tried to give the man the keys to the city, but he did not accept it because he was a modest and a humble man. He was known to freely teach the oppressed and the oppressors. As a child, he was known to have no desire to play with other children and instead spent his youth in worship and in prayer. He founded a village that is now a holy city in Senegal. The picture you see on the screen is the only verifiable photograph of Amadou Bamba and was taken by the French colonial government as a means of keeping tabs on him. It is said that he floated on water during prayer after escaping his prison cell on a ship that was transporting him to his exile. It is said that he survived being thrown into a furnace. It is said that his mother birthed him pain-free, and it is said that his aura was so bright he covered his face so he would not serve as a distraction. Who was this man? Why did the French government fear him so much? Was this even a man? Or is this a multi-dimensional being sent to aid humanity? If you would like to learn more about Sheikh Amadou Bamba, there are a few links below to help you get started on your research journey. Okay, so we've covered your name, but I'm not a big credentials person because I believe my credentials are in my spirit. God certifies me and I don't really need anybody else's certificates, but the work that you've done, the walk that you've been on is amazing. The work you've done for the psychedelic community, it's inspiring. So I just want to go over a couple of things. Mm-hmm. So decriminalize nature. Talk about it. What was that like? How did you guys get started? Just run it down for me.
Okay. So always giving props to my teacher, Baba Kalindi EE, who was, gotta represent my lineage. For years we've been doing the underground work to expose people to this spiritual technology, whether it's lectures or whether holding group sessions, one-on-one sessions, grow classes, whatever. And we had some really good comrades around the state, one of which her name was Julie Barron, and she represented the Ann Arbor decrim nature here in Michigan. And so at the time they were organizing, and then they began inviting me and Kalindi to the meetings. We were up there to support, and we were interested in decriminalization as well, but they were a lot further along in terms of understanding the laws, policy, and approach. So we helped support the Ann Arbor movement. And, thereafter, me and Kalindi on a ride home from one of the meetings was like, well, maybe we should start a, Detroit decrim. And, we had agreed upon it. Unfortunately, Baba had gotten sick and he passed on. So, I was still hyped, like, in honor of him, let's move ahead. So, we just started organizing Detroit decrim. And, it was really a magical situation because, as you know, in this world, there's a lot of us, but not a lot of us in terms of understanding sacred plant medicine. But then those of us who have that understanding and knowledge of policy and the importance of political activism. So, that's a very, very small group. So at the time we were out caucusing with the other groups, talking with local politicians, trying to spread the word. And we were a small, mighty group, but we were severely underfunded. And so there's a gentleman named by the name of Robert Shoemake, who is a businessman here in Detroit. He had an experience with sacred plant medicine. I facilitated an experience. He had an ayahuasca experience before, but I facilitated a sacred mushroom experience. He was duly impacted, so he decided to help put some money up behind it to get petitions paid and help pay canvassers. So when we hit the streets, it was amazing that amount of support that was out. So Detroit run the vote in a historical fashion because unlike a lot of cities where the city council adopts it through resolution, we actually took it to the people to get their vote and their voice on the matter. And we got an astounding 61% approval, which is crazy for, a topic related to decriminalization of so-called drugs. So that was really inspirational, showing that the work we've been doing for the last couple of decades, spreading the word, exposing people, giving authentic experiences, paid off because through word of mouth, citizens were rightly informed about these plants and they were supportive of it. So yeah, that was really magical. Like I said, literally like 2 weeks before election, there were like 4 of us in a room, like, how are we going to pull this off? And yeah, it was a team of less than 10 people that pulled off a major election victory. So it was definitely some juju, magic, mushroom.
Right.
So Baba Kalindi helped pull some strings, but we pulled it off. And we are one of the few cities in the country that allows therapy, which is important for us to make sure our people were able to not only receive therapy with these plants, but that the practitioners could get paid for. So other cities don't allow that. So we are very unique, especially as a Black city, you know. Yeah.
I mean, first of all, thank you for continuing the work, even though Baba passed, because you could have let the grief kill the momentum, but you decided to actually use that as fuel to keep you going and to maybe even make you go harder. Like, yeah, I got to do this for Kalindi now. So just thank you for you and the team for to keep going. I have a question. So I'm in a red state. All the people in power here in Kentucky are old white men with a whole lot of money. And we've basically made zero progress in regards to legalization and decriminalization. We did get a victory this year because January 1st, our governor approved the use of medical marijuana for like 15 illnesses, only 15 illnesses.
Wow.
And we're only allowed to bring it in from another state. We're not actually allowed to grow it or have dispensaries here.
So that's a trap door, like, you know, because now it's like you asking somebody to do something pseudo legal. So that was almost like a double-handed compliment.
Yes. So what can we do? Like, how can we even get started? Like, I don't even know where to start in such a place like this.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest tool that you have is education and exposure. You have to like really be big on being like you know, that person that's at the cocktail party, like, oh God, another mushroom story. Like, mushrooms. Did I tell you it produces neurogenesis? You know, so we did what was important was we started integration circles, mushroom discussion circles, which is the basis of all political organization. And then we were purposeful about naming it, you know, decrim. I mean, if you think bring like some legislative or political heat, you know, just talk about, call it the entheogen or the psychedelic space and just start organizing like that. Just have regular weekly gatherings. And you'll be amazed how many politicians, they're looking for like innovative legislation that they can make history for and they can have constituents vote for them for. So the second thing is brave enough to approach these incoming or current political leaders. Like, it's really good sometimes you have like a strong candidate that's like has a really good chance, that's progressive, you know, if they can afford it politically, you know, that's something that they could champion. So in a state like that that's very red, where like you may not know if you can get the people on the ground to approve it, or no, sometimes in a red state, that's the best way, like for the people to talk, because in a red state, the politicians usually in a red state and a blue state, their first thing is legalization. They think it's like, oh, I'm gonna make $1 billion. I'm gonna call my guys at Purdue Pharma, and then we're gonna do a legalization model. And then, so that's what's dangerous. So yeah, just using the people, starting initiative. One of the things we thought is starting with small and mid-sized college cities. Get somewhere there's a college, university where a lot of young liberal minds are. Get that small victory. And then start, that's what we do. That's what we're currently doing in Michigan. We're hitting these small states and cities. Of course, Detroit was an anomaly just because we radical like that. But we started university schools where we can get, you know, population 80, 190, 200,000, where you can like take the resources you have and make an impact. Once that happens, it's going to hit all the papers. You know, so-and-so city decriminalizes mushrooms. That's going to stir everybody in the state. And as long as you have a landing place, like a number, website, you're going to get hundreds of people saying, hey, how can I get involved? And that's when it really so I would say a legislative victory at a small town, preferably a university. I would say do a ballot initiative where you can hit the streets with a team of maybe 50 to 100 people, get the needed signatures to put it on the ballot, win it that way, get your media thing, get the media to pump it up. And then other cities, because like I say, legislators like, oh, man, I want to be known for, or I want to have a new feather in my hat to champion. And then, you know, and then I would say, and also make sure that there's a lot of clarity between the difference between decriminalization and legalization. That's where the education, because you'll get a politician that will be like, yeah, I'm all with the legalization, and people wouldn't know the difference. And we see what happened. Well, I don't know. Well, y'all will see what happens with cannabis. What happens is they use it as a tool to kind of marginalize, once again, Black and brown folks and people from poor communities, because the legal model demands so much money just to play ball, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, those are my things. I'm like, if you are near or at, I would hit the nearest college, you know?
Yeah.
And every college has groups like Students for Safe Drug Policy, Dance Safe. These are all organizing young people that are about drug policy reform. Start on the campuses, turn out that little college university, get that media, and the rest is on, you know.
So the thing is, these groups already exist. Like there is a Decrim Lexington, there's a Decrim Louisville, which are the two major college towns here in Kentucky, for like the University of Kentucky and the University of Louisville. But the thing is, when I went to check in with them, it's like they started a website, they started Instagram, and then a few months later, they stopped posting content. It's like the momentum kind of just dies down. So what's a piece of advice maybe for like, just to keep the energy going and like keeping people inspired?
Yeah, you young, but you ain't that young. I'm gonna call you grown folk. I don't know if you're college age. So like,
no.
That's what I say. You young, you ain't, but you grown folk, so you ain't that young. So like this movement requires like a multi-generational approach. So individuals of age range, we have to be like the chaperone parents, because these are young college students. They're moving off our ideals. They're moving off campus. They fall in love. They graduate. So part of what required is like a small team of, you know, grown folk, real grown folk, helping to chaperone the process. So you would have to go up there, you know, make sure that the student union hall is reserved, you know. You may find a responsible student leader that's like got the flyers printed and, you know, got the agenda set for you, but you may have to invite the rest of the community outside the college community to come, you know. So I would say for grown folk like us partner with the young people, they're gonna, you know, provide the votes, the seats, the people to get politics, the people to rush the polls, the people to show up for the rallies. We provide the structure and the direction, you know.
Yeah. That's freaking solid. And I love the idea of having, it's a generational movement, not just this one group of people, because that happens. I see it so often in a town like this where essentially old money is still in power in where I live. The old money, they're still in power. They're still making all the decisions. And we're kind of essentially, this is morbid, but we're just waiting for them to die because their kids are millennials and they're a lot more progressive. And so we're kind of just waiting for the next generation to come into power.
And that's where they are.
Yeah.
You know, and then for you, like, you know, for them, it's a big deal. You might buy 7 hot and readies for the meeting. It's like, oh shit, we got people, you know, so you do things that they may not be able to, you know what I'm saying? And you provide food on the college campus, you're gonna get a room full of people. You know?
Speak their language. Their language.
Let their young energy come up with, you know, they may say, we want to do a rally in there. Okay, well, I help you pull a permit. I help you, you know, inform campus security, you know, kind of empower them to be leaders, because they will do a lot of the heavy lifting, but you have to assist them with, you know, keeping focus and help their class load. And, you know, you may have to finance some waters or pizza or sound system. But that's how the marriage often looks. And then when it comes to sitting down with legislators, that's where you come in. That's where you discuss the language. But you have a young leader with you so they can learn the process. You know? You have some young law students, you know, and that's,
Hey, no, my sister is an attorney. My
see,
sister is an attorney, and she can definitely hook me up at law school.
yeah.
Ooh.
And if you get with Decrim
Hmm.
National, I'm on the board. We'll give you a starter packet. I'm sure they already
Yeah.
have, but
Yeah.
we like basic language templates. We give you the basic template. So like you give it to your sister, she can go through the existing statutes and laws and custom make it, add, take whatever's needed.
Right.
It makes it a lot easier.
Hmm.
And then I would say the other thing would be getting with somebody who, I'm not reading your pockets. You probably holding a bunch of banks, but get
Oh
with some,
yeah.
yeah. I know you killing it, but
Oh
all,
yeah.
yeah. Organize a finance team because another expense is printing of ballots. Ballots cost. So if you have to, let's say, get 100,000 votes, signatures, yeah, you may have to spend, $15,000-$20,000 on ballots,
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the biggest expense. And so, but once you start organizing on the college campus, you usually can court people, but that'll be your job as an adult. They do the showing up, getting the signatures, but your job as adults would be talking to that friend that can cut a check for 20. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or those
There's a
people.
lot of it's Kentucky. There's a lot of bourbon money here. There's a lot of horse money. There's a lot of money here. It's just
There's,
about aligning.
yeah, and I imagine that there's a suppressed liberal bubble there that wants to get into action. And so you
Mm-hmm.
utilize those people because they probably feeling mad suppressed under a red regime, for lack of a better word. So they have money that they want to put behind causes. So those are just, contact the local. And I'm not Democrat, Republican, because I think they both do us a disservice, but contact the local DNC or find out some people who write checks to
Right.
help with. And it may be grassroots, it may be people putting in 50 here, 100 here, but by all means, the two things: organize the campuses, start the fundraising. Yeah.
Okay, so to the viewers, I need to talk directly to y'all for 1 second because he's talking to me like I'm going to start this. And I'm
I,
telling y'all right now, I'm trying to leave. I'm trying to go to where he is. I'm trying to move to Detroit for the exact purpose of training and learning from people like this. I might come back in the future, but baby, don't look at me. Don't look at me. I'm trying to leave. I've put in my work
right.
here in the Lexington streets. I've put in the work already. I've literally walked around this fucking city handing out coats and handing out food, and I've put in my hours. Kentucky, find someone else. Find someone else to do it because it's not me.
All right, folks listening, you know, message in, be like, I'll take the lead, and then we'll give the baton to you and support you all the way for those who are listening. But we do need strong leaders that are, that's ready to ride. It's
And
the
what's
right.
cool about my skills as like a project manager and as an organizer, my skills are virtual. Like I don't have to be on the ground with you to be able to offer my skill set. I can just help organize things.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Many hands lift a heavy load. So, and I think that's what intimidates a lot of people. They're like, oh my God, no, many hands lift a heavy load, and it's not as much work as it seems. It's more just getting the people power together. So for those who are listening, I know some young revolutionary at the university. I'm giving you the blueprint, and feel free to reach out because I'm down to stir some trouble up.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing, honey. If Lexington did decriminalize, it would be a miracle, A. And B, it would literally send a shockwave through the entire state, every red state, for real.
And then all of a sudden, DNC like, oh my God, you're gonna flip the state. Then watch all of a sudden, everybody wants to write checks. Then so it's a dual purpose because it does accrue political leverage, for our revolutionary sacred plant community. It accrues. They like, yo, because even Republicans into it, they don't admit it, but they be doing their ayahuasca and mushrooms. So
Yeah, they do.
Political power in a sense. They're like, oh, you have a button, a hot button issue that can get voters to the polls and get people talking. And
I want to go into because I've been a part of revolutionary circles in Lexington before, where we made a lot of noise and we did a lot of things. But the issue was the leaders of these circles did not have a heart of service. So when you said, oh, people are going to be writing checks, then it almost gave me a little bit of PTSD, because in my past situations, once the money started coming in, the leaders were a bit greedy and they wanted to get paid and they wanted money. So everything fell apart because they took all the money. So I just think it's important to acknowledge that whoever is running and leading this has to have a true heart of service, because it's going to fall apart if you don't have.
And that's the thing, you know, preferably you're going to get people who are opportunistic, who's like, oh, this is the next cannabis. Oh, I want to get in. You're going to have those people that are opportunistic. A lot of people hopefully have, you know, experienced the sacred realm and have a respect for it. But some of the things we did is like for our financial donors, of course, they had a direct pack that they can write to. So they didn't have to worry about somebody just writing into some slush fund or some organization where some leader has the access to the debit card. So that helped. Like we had our big money donors. I mean, they wrote the checks directly to the petition committee, directly to the printer. So they had clarity and checks and balances are like, this is where the money's going. And and then because of the nature of what we're talking about, we're never an official organization. That's something you got to remember too. If you're talking about decriminalization of sacred plants, you're definitely not a registered federal organization.
Right.
So you definitely have to have those structures like political action committees that can receive those donations and make sure that they're sent to the right place. Yeah, that's a very good point. Thank you, sis.
Yeah.
Sure.
So to the viewer that is watching this and your heart is full and you feel so much excitement, just reach out to me. Do not get overwhelmed. We're throwing a lot of information at you. It's a lot of work. It's a big job. Do not get overwhelmed by how much needs to get done. We can start you very small and we will gradually build you up. You don't have to conquer the whole world today. Okay.
Yeah, this free political organizing game. Soak it up.
Thank you. Okay. So I want to switch gears a little bit because I want to make sure we have time to talk about your recent trip to Kenya. What was that? Was that your first trip to Africa? And just what was Kenya like?
Oh, okay. Well, this is my seventh trip to the continent. First time to the East, which was beautiful. It's a huge difference. Like, you know how we say, of course, there's a difference between somebody in VA and California. A difference in language they use, you know, their lifestyle, everything. So you imagine Africa is like 8 times larger than the United States. Some say 10. You can imagine a cultural variation. It was really cool seeing East African cultural expression and, you know, learning a lot, like just how cool the climate is. Like, you would think Kenya being that close to the equator is like unbearable, but it's like Mediterranean. In most beautiful country, they have a zero plastics policy, similar to what I learned is Rwanda and a lot of the Congo, a lot of those Central African, East African countries, they don't plan with pollution. They like, yo, no plastic, no plastic. So when you go there, relative to the West, man, it's so clean. It's so, you know what I mean? And it's not something like draconian where you're going to jail for 21 days. No, it's just people loving their country that understand the importance of no plastic, and they just all pitch in, which is dope. So I was able to see like city life, which I'm gonna start posting more pictures because people need to see modern Africa. Like, yes, some of the dopest architect you can see, you know, speed rails, paved streets, you know, people need to see that because unfortunately a lot of our folks, they think it's still like underdeveloped. We were able to go out to the Maasai people, spend some time with them, learn about their culture, their history, you know, whatever hasn't been whitewashed by Christianity, we were able to learn. And then I learned a lot about what family looks like in Africa, which is brilliant. I mean, it's something I like to share with the audience because I learned something. Like when we see these videos of famine in Africa or other places in the world, we have to realize, like when I was driving around Kenya, everybody had gardens. Like everybody ate out the yard, fresh, organic, chickens, cows, whatever.
Right.
It was fresh. And so I'm sitting here and I say, well, you know, and they were talking about, you know, the threat of famine. And I understand what it was like. So when we visited the Maasai, we went way out into like the desert. And what we found is like what I found was like the Maasai, they live in groups of like 20 to 36 people, small family groups. And they stay in these small groups, and one might be 500 acres or 100 acres. The next one may be half a mile. The next one may be 2 miles away. The next one. So you had these small family encampments, and they're nomadic because they're pastoralists. You know, they use cows. So now you imagine, let's say there's a drought, and these are people are pastoralists, and their cows cannot eat, and they live off their cows and off of things like millet. So now you have these pastoralists who are moving all through the year. They can't access millet. Their cows are dying. So now let's say the government said, oh my God, these thousands or hundreds of thousands of people can't get millet when their cows are dying. So now we have to distribute food. Well, how do you distribute food to a nomadic people? Because when I came last week, they were here. This week, down the road. And then we don't know how many other small family groups are around. So now, first off, getting the food to them, now distributing it and maintaining distribution as they move is the challenge. So now I'm looking and I say, oh, so famine isn't always so much of, oh, we don't have any food as a nation. No. How do we distribute this food to these people who are pastoralists, who are moving, and make sure that all these groups are accounted for? Because it may be somebody down the road we didn't know was starving.
Right.
I got an education about what famine looks like in Africa.
Yeah.
And like we were educated, it's not like a lack of food. No, it's more like the ability to logistically distribute the food to all these different groups that are moving, that don't come to the city to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
wow.
It was amazing. And so I said, well, why don't they just come back to the city? It was like, this is their way of life. Like, this is how they live. But so it helped me understand, like, it's not a situation where Africa don't have any roads or no lights, or they still building huts. No, these are people who want to live this life. They choose to live this life. They could very well build a 2-story house with 4 bedrooms and mahogany floors and cable TV like anyone else, but they choose to live this way, and the government respects their way of life. So it was interesting.
That is interesting. Just because I have millions of ideas, I'm a manifesting generator. I just need to say this idea. What I saw was I pictured like it's like a desert, and they're traveling through this, they're moving and they're traveling through this desert. And then there are like these centers or oases throughout the land that they're moving around. So they know when we stop in this area, we can go to this place for food, because it can't just be the government trying to get to them. They need to meet them halfway, essentially. So they have to change their ways a little bit. The government has to change their ways a little bit and kind of meet each other in the middle. Obviously, that's millions of dollars in funding to set up centers throughout Kenya, countryside of Kenya. But throw that out.
That's a brilliant idea. It takes flex on both groups, because for these groups, this is still a sovereign land. So unlike the United States, they ain't like, fuck that, we sending the army, we taking your shit, get on the rest. You know what I'm saying? They say, well, okay, this is your land. So yeah, both groups have to find a balance, which is a very good point that you made, and an interesting approach.
Yeah. Listen, I'm a manifesting generator. I don't run out of ideas. My problem is never that I don't have ideas. It's that I have so many ideas, I don't know which one to execute. It's just too much. What do you say? You cut out there.
I'm a generator. I think I'm a manifestor by my body type. Pretty sure. I haven't had it in a while, but I'm pretty sure I'm a generator, because that's what my last reading was like. No, you don't do anything. You generate. You don't have to. I was like, okay. I believe that's the reading. You know,
you're the builder, hon. The builder.
We say we get in trouble when we do too much. Our job is to be still, manifest.
Oh, that sounds like a manifester or a projector.
Yeah, I don't know. We have to get another reading, but I think my human type is manifest.
Okay. So I want to go back to the family structures of the Maasai people, because I know that they're known for polygamy, and I just wanted to discuss it further, because for one, first of all, Detroit, when I was up there, y'all tried to get me. Y'all tried to get me. They tried to get me. And like polygamy is super big there. Like I've never met so many poly people in one place. Like Kentucky, it's very, very spread out. Everybody is secretly poly. I was running into people with multiple partners every day.
Wow.
So I just wanted to talk about it. Like, did you see any type of family structure where there were multiple partners, and what did it look like? And then also just what's your personal opinion on the poly life?
Okay. No, I did. Like the Maasai, they are in the polygamy. They used to, and it's very interesting. I know you'll enjoy this. Unfortunately, a lot of their traditions have been lost because of missionary work. So whenever you mention something, they say, "Oh no, we believe in the blood of Jesus Christ." Like, so some of them are very afraid to talk about their traditional cultures. But so at the age of 15, young Maasai men, warriors, are trained in the science of caring for the flock. As you know, historically, they go out, they pursue a lion with their peer group, they kill a lion, to prove their manhood and their ability to protect the flock. From 15 to 25, this is what they do. They tend the cows, they make sure the cows graze, they protect the flock and the village from lions and things of that nature. At the age of 25, once you've proven yourself to the village, you get a piece of land. Your peers, your buddies help you build a house, and then you're allowed to take on wives, as many as you can maintain. So it's not just, I like them. No, you have to have the means to maintain them. What's interesting in the Maasai culture, as I was told, is that they traditionally, some groups do exercise a form of polyandry, because if you're a pastor and you're gone for 3 weeks, so they have a tradition where if you come up to let's say your third or second wife, and it's a spear outside the door, she got company,
Wow. Why you say I like this story? Whatever.
That's what all the ladies are like, hey.
Right.
So amongst peer groups of men, let's say I went through my initiation with, let's say, 5 of my guys, 6 of my guys. Sometimes, they would share wives, but they say it's not as much in tradition now. But it's still, the polygamy thing, and it's still, and Christianity has a lot of that stuff under threat because they feel taboo. But yeah, that's the tradition. And here in Detroit, my teacher Kalindi, he practiced polygamy, and there are a lot of expressions of it in the city. I have mixed feelings with it. I mean, I believe in traditional approach. If the adults, if people are in agreement and you can take care and maintain to a good lifestyle, because it's really a family thing. It's pro-family. Right. Everybody think it's pro, but it's really pro-family. And this is something I've learned from my teacher and just through my travels through the continent. It is the most obligatory thing a man could do. It's only for live men, it ain't for freshmen. Because if you about that life, let's say, me and you, and let's say I have 2 wives and it's 4 kids. Well, yes, that's 6 people I'm responsible for making sure it's protected, fed, and taken care of, which leaves very little time for bullshit. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why I say it's strictly for live men and not for freshmen. And then polygamy, polyandry, it used to be in tradition was a woman's institution.
Right.
Your best friend's husband unfortunately dies in an accident. By the American or Western ethos, you're like, oh well, fuck that bitch, she got to shovel her own. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because if you go over there and shovel the snow, your woman like, you mine. Hell no. You know, that was the tradition. But in the original approach, it was a woman's institution because it was like, we make sure that every child and every woman and elders care for, and that was our job as men. So oftentimes a woman would find a wife and say, no, bro, you need to take care of this one, or she's going to bring this to our clan. And then they would move as sister wives. It wasn't like catty beef. It was often, if you did wrong by Nafisa, damn it, you was going to hear from Khadijah too. And you was going to hear from so yeah. And I think it definitely has a place in our community, but our orientation with relationship and our education regarding relationship and community, we're not getting properly educated to it. So a lot of times the expression is retarded, unfortunately, or you're building a plane in the air. But I think and
I'm going to use that.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, you know, they're freestyling as best they can. And then there's a lot of pressures on it. There's social pressure, you know, because one, as men, we're not taught to be responsible. You know what I mean? We're taught to be responsive, like, oh shit, okay, let me pay this bill, you know, but not responsible. And as for women, you know, unfortunately, y'all are taught to compete with each other, and also the stigmatization, because y'all are expected to get trophies. So it's like, get your own fucking trophy, you know. Collectively amongst men and women, it's a everybody gets a trophy approach. So, you know, my little brother Troy, who barely can wipe his behind and shovel the snow, well, he deserves a trophy too. So some poor woman gonna have to deal with Troy because it's socially unacceptable for her to be in a polygamous relationship. You know? So what ends up happening is a bunch of what we call serial monogamy. So like you'll have sisters that's like, look, I ain't gonna be nobody's blah, blah, blah side piece, but I date 25 guys looking for the one. You know, this sort of like, but like,
yep.
You know, like they say, you know, is 10 busters worth one good man. You know what I'm saying? But once again, as women, there's a lot of stigma. If you live in that type of situation and you feel looked at by aunties and cousins and classmates and sisters, and they like, oh, look at her. I would never do that, you know. So that's another factor that makes it difficult, is just the social stigma, which is where education comes in. Like, to it really on both sides as men, us learning what responsibility looks like, what polygamy is about. Like, you know, it's not a porno show, you know what I'm saying? Why it's done, you know what I'm saying? The reasoning behind it's a conglomeration of economic, political, social forces to create power, you know what I'm saying? And then how it's done, you know? So that means you may have to make sure both these sisters have a house with heat and cars and food, and them kids got clothes and they get the nurturing, which means your ass have no time to bullshit, you know what I mean, as a man. So, which means that there's another factor, the financial factor, right? So as Black men, we know that our financial fortune in this nation has been limited. So there's a lot of factors involved. Get your money up. If you got your money up, you got your education up, you got people who are socially educated to the reasoning why, you know, and the man is educated to why he's doing it. It could very much work out. But that's a beautiful alignment of circumstances. You know what I'm saying? That
personally, right now it's feeling like it's gonna take a miracle because for me, I'm a very communal lover. Like, I know how to express intimacy without sex. Like, I have a girlfriend, we kiss each other on the mouth when we see each other, but it's not sexual. It's like, I love her so much, I want to kiss you in your mouth. And there are so many other countries where that's perfectly acceptable. Grown-ass men will kiss each other in the mouth and hold hands, and it's not sexualized.
That's that.
I
That's
have
that. Yeah, we have. No, that's the collective immaturity we have, though. Like you speaking to it,
Yeah, and like I have my best friend and her husband. I would spend the night at their house. We will wake up and make breakfast, watch movies, cuddles, and it's not sexual. Like, we're just very close as a unit. I take care of their kids. Like, my nieces and nephews play with their kids. Like, it's just, we have like a little community, but it's not like, I just don't want to be a part of their family, essentially.
Right. And that's another point too, that polygamy, it takes different forms. It's not always like where, you know, you sleeping with both people. It may be we're a committed family in the sense that we help raise these kids. We make sure that everybody has food, clothing, shelter, you know, security. And it may not be, oh, well, both of these people I'm intimate with, or you know what I mean?
Right. Like, sex is the last thing to come into play for me.
Yeah. And so in traditional societies, that's how it will work. It was like, we got responsibilities, you know what I mean? Sometimes,
and that's the problem, though. Like, that's the problem I'm running into is, for one, I don't do the separate houses thing. That's to me, that defeats the purpose. I want someone there to help me raise these kids. Like, the separate houses thing to me just defeats the purpose. Like, for the last 2 years, me and my sister have been living in the same house, and me and her together have been raising her 5 children. Like, beautiful. She takes the morning shift, I take the afternoon shift. We split dinner and bath time. Like, it's together, supporting each other with the day-to-day monotonous, like, routine bullshit that nobody wants to do. Like, we split it up.
No, that's how, I mean, collectively, that's how we should be. We shouldn't be, you know, on this individualism hustle that we all seem to be on, you know. So you, and that's another thing, you know, like Elder told me once, it says, oppressed African people, you have no business being individuals. That's the worst thing you could do, is be an individual as an oppressed African. What are you, out your mind? And then another thing she says is, if as an African person throughout the world, everybody should be part of an organization. Everybody needs to be part of a collective organization. I don't care if it's a sewing circle. You need to be organized with other Black people. I don't care if it's a chess club, tea club, hustle, we go roller skating, but we have no business being individuals.
You're right.
Us.
But it's this push for independence.
And it don't have to be. No, I was saying, if people are listening and they're not part of an organization, find one. And it doesn't have to be super serious, revolutionary. It just be something that you believe in and that you want to link with other people in. You know, it don't always have to be Black Panther. It might be, like I say, the sewing club. But find an organization to be a part of.
I just shared a video yesterday that talked about how basically Americans don't have communities because they work so much, and like, their only community is their work family, and so a concept of a community outside of work or church is just foreign to them. But no, like, if you visit other countries, there are just these little micro communities in people's everyday life, and it's not like you go to the market every Tuesday, that's a community. Like, everybody, like the regular people who visit the market, that's a community of people, and they all support each other. And it's just this hyper independence thing, in this individuality thing in America is weird to me. I was raised by an immigrant of Uganda, and it's just never been a concept. It's just never something that I wanted.
Yeah, it's good for you that you had that orientation. It was like interesting. We were in Kenya, you know, the host that we had, we were there for 3 weeks, you know, and as Americans, we sitting here like, shit, I know they tired of us. I know they tired of seeing our Black ass. Boy, let's not disturb them. And by the time it's leave, like, these folks are almost in tears, like, man, we wish y'all could stay. And we sitting here like, we oriented, right? What's that orientation? After 3 days, they start getting on your nerves, like, oh
Right.
God, I got house guests. I want to get my house back. You know, that whole twisted mentality where the rest of the world is like, nah, man, it's fun to experience this adventure called life with as many people as possible, you know?
Right.
Yeah, so that's interesting too.
I think a big part of the problem though is the lack mindset in the Black community. Like the lack mindset is ridiculously
scarcity.
huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the scarcity mindset is the greatest sorcery that these folks have put on us, actually. And it's nothing but sorcery. When you talk about high magic, that's exactly what it is. It's high magic. Most of the, you know, violence we see, whether it's dope money, whether it's jilted lover, whether it's you bump my car, is because of a sense of lack. Our inability to organize financially is because of a sense of lack. You want me to put what into an investment group? Oh, hell no, y'all gonna take it. And then you know, and that's one of the things that excursions into the sacred realm helps to dispel. You know, for those of us who've had that, you know that you quickly remind that the universe lives in abundance. There's not a lack of anything, you know. Yeah. And so I think it's important for us too, as like indigenous, oppressed, liberated people pushing for our liberation, is we have to really be purposeful at defining our culture as separate from this Western culture. You know, and we have to be purposeful about that. Like, no, we don't see lack, you know, and inform our children that way. You know, no, we don't do individualism and inform our children this way. No, we don't disrespect nature and inform our children this way. You know, those are two major things: the idea of lack and individualism, rugged individualism, and the idea of scarcity. And these are two things that come out of Keynesian economics, capitalism. Like, it's in the textbook. You know, give them an idea of scarcity so that they can buy, provide the American consumer with individualized products. And this is true because this is how they control population. People don't know this. In the West, consumerism and individualism limits population growth because, and it's in the books, it's in every marketing course. They say if you get an American consumer to care more about their individual comforts, desires, hobbies, and needs, that will limit their propensity to have children because that means they can't pursue their hobbies.
Right.
You know?
Wow.
So get this two drop top, you know, whatever. And so now we hear the talk like, God damn it, I'm having kids. Oh, these little fucking crumb snatchers. My life would have, if it wasn't for you kids, you know. They, like China, just do one child policy. So every country is faced with this idea: how do we regulate, control population growth? Well, in the West, it's consumerism. It's to get the individual to care more about their wants, needs, and desires than family. So
that a little bit punched me in the throat.
No, shoot, it punches us hard.
Fuck. Yeah. No, that's right on the money. That's you're just making me question in what way have I been focused on my individual comfort versus family. I'm cool for real because like I literally take care of 5 kids every day. Like
it sounds like you get it, you know.
No, I'm already there, but in regards to
in some regard,
in regards to just like building my own family, I feel like I've been a little bit focused on what I want and how I want it to look, and I me how I want this, and it's not bad. I think the feminine is kind of taking the lead as far as the return of the divine mother. Like the woman is being put back in a place of power. It's just it goes to our head a little bit, tiny smidgen. But no,
y'all been denied long enough, you know. So it's a knee-jerk thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like shit, these men been getting it. Hell, I want it. You know what I'm saying? It's understood. And once again, it's engineered. You know, if we look at modern marketing, that's 85% of marketing dollars are spent toward female consumers and promoting the idea of individualism, you know. So this sorcery is heavy and thick for you sisters, you know what I mean? In every commercial, it's a book out called Why She Buys. And it's in every business school, and they like, forget these men. We not making nothing for the men. We not marketing. We marketing to women and children. Women, because they're the ones who do the shopping, and children because mama gonna get what those children need. The men, to hell with them. So it's by design, you know. So it's a lot of pressure for y'all to, you know, just like for men, it's intrinsic for us to be, you know, individualistic. They're putting the juju on you guys now, you know.
Listen, it's rough. I think especially for millennials, I feel like we really got hit bad. Like, yeah, I just feel like we were past a pile of shit. And so it's like,
I agree.
I'm 29, like I'll be 30 this year, and I'm looking around like, girl, you ain't got no man, you ain't got no kids, you don't got no house, you living at your daddy's house. Like, it's kind of, I'm starting to feel the pressure of just to start a family. But I have to always like even check in with myself, like, am I pressuring me, or is like society pressuring me? Like, is society telling me by 30 you need to have this and this? I'm still very young, like very young.
Yeah, Black women have babies in their 50s. Not that you want to wait,
right.
but I'm saying,
right.
I mean, you're still young. And then even economic considerations like staying with your dad. Everywhere else in the world, like if you're in Europe, you know, and you're a young man and you're like, hey, I got my own apartment, you won't get dates.
Right.
Why? Because women like, what the fuck? You got a mom at home and you got your own apartment? The hell are you doing? Right. You selfish bastard. You know? So that's a lot of that is social pressure. You know, because we live in an imperialist, rich ass nation, you know. We do get a lot of pressure to be like, no, I need to have multiple properties, multiple vehicles, just my nuclear family, cars for everybody in the house, you know, kids with braces in the newest Jordans, which is nothing wrong with that. I mean, nothing wrong with that, but you know, then we juxtapose that to the reality. Sometimes, you know, it may look different. Like one of the things in our reality, unspoken reality, is right now women are making more than the brothers.
Yeah.
So even in the cosmo conception of marriage, it's like, he make less than me, I can't get married. Well, that's because that conception has been put on you. You know what I'm saying? But in our community, it may very well be, you know, shit. You may make more, not like he ain't doing nothing, but just the nature of the shit. But because of the conceptions in our brain, it's like, so imagine a guy in your position. He like, shit.
I want to ask you that. Like, as a Black man, if your woman made way more than you, like millions, and was like, babe, I need you to quit your job to come help me with mine and to focus on the kids. Where's your mind going? I mean, you're gonna be like, yeah.
I mean, with the type of ladies that I prefer, the lady I prefer to interact with, yeah, you know, the right mindset. Like, she's sentient in her culture, you know. So it's not, I don't have to worry about them Americanisms. So yeah, definitely.
So you dating foreign ladies? That's what you're saying?
No. I say I'm dating. I have a woman that's a woman is rooted in African culture, not necessarily out the country. No, but what I'm saying is that me personally, now other guys, you know, depending on their level, their cultural perspective, it may be unacceptable for them to accept that. You know what I mean? But in our culture, if we study our history, women have always been in the marketplace. They've always been, as crazy as it sounds, y'all been the ones we be like, here, just take the money. You handle the zeros, and then I go out and get this bread. But it depends on your cultural orientation. If you under the Fred Flintstone 1950s Leave It to Beaver mindset, that shit is acceptable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If as a man, you'll feel demeaned, you'll feel less than, you'll feel like you're a loser. You know what I'm saying? if you thinking like a Western man, you know.
Right.
But if you know, and then the reality is some days you may be up, some days they may be down, you know. Yeah, so no, that wouldn't be a problem at all, as long as those Americanisms are in check.
Yeah.
You know,
Because I even feel like spiritually speaking, like as on an energetic level, the woman is really elevating and coming into a place of power and decision making. And me personally, just when I check in with the energy, I feel like the masculine is very resistant to be submissive to the female's leadership, to the feminine leadership, because it requires an identity change, like the Western mindset. It requires a big identity change. And that's why, for me, that's why I push the work with the mushroom, because it really helps you see, like, oh, I've been programmed to believe all of these things about who I am. What if I just didn't adhere to those standards and those beliefs about what a man is and what a woman is? I know that's just how the mushroom was for me, honey. I got my ego got shed so many times. Like, ugh.
If we look at our community too, it's always been a reality. I mean, for like, why Granny was like, we always had that meme of her scrubbing white folks' underwear and being a cook out in the suburbs. Well, the bro, he might be shining shoes, making what he can, but it's always been, and it's not something that, you know, I don't know, that's necessarily good, but it is what it is. Y'all, since the days of slavery, y'all's the ones that were able to go sell pies in town. You're able to get the permits to go, you know. So in our community, it's not different. I think what's different is that the myth of an open market is here now. And so as Black men, we can finally get on. We can finally be, you know, Wally Cleaver and come in with the groceries, you know.
Yeah.
And even though it seems it's a de facto sense like that, it doesn't always translate to that. And that's what leads to the high amounts of, and I'm not even going to lend to that, but the tendency of criminality amongst young Black men. Because we like, yo, we can get into the marketplace. I'm going to get this money any means necessary, you know, because I want to be able to be that person that can take care of their woman. You know, you listen even to our hip hop, the whole thing is how you lacing wifey, what kind of whip she driving, what kind of car you got her in, how many times she driving foreign. So our deepest desire is to lace y'all with what we have. But you couple that with the frustration of not being able to be as economically viable in the traditional economy. So cats do whatever they can to get that. But
you opened a can of worms. You really opened up a can of worms, because yes, for me, how I know you like me if you don't give me stuff? Like, that's just how, from my personal experience, I know when a man really wants me because he does for me. He offers to do things for me. But the problem is, though, there's been an attack on the feminine's belief system about who she is. So now she feels like she needs these nails, makeup, hair, cars, clothes in order to validate her power in her feminine energy, when my feminine energy don't got nothing to do with my hair or my nails. Like, it don't got nothing to do with that.
Well, and then it speaks to a cultural power. I'm glad we're talking about this, because the tendency for the male species to show off and to lace their female counterpart exists throughout biology. Ants, birds, elephants, tigers. So that's a natural biological response. Now, here's where our cultural power lies. Our cultural power lies in what we define as those objects of affection. So Edward Bernays in 1923, when the De Beers got finished raping South Africa of their diamonds, and they had warehouses full of diamonds, like more diamonds than they knew what to do with, and the price was dropping to nothing. Edward Bernays, marketing genius, was like, well, let's create a campaign, and we're going to say diamonds are a girl's best friend. Even though diamonds are extremely cheap stone, you can go to Home Depot, get diamond chip, goddamn drill tips for cheap. They convinced the psyche that diamonds were expensive, and this is how you show affection for your woman, and you must spend 1/3 of your paycheck or half if you can. Okay, now let's look at how that cultural power has translated into billions of dollars, not only for white folk, but for white folk, but other folk participating, making billions for it. You get what I'm saying? So what happens when we say, dashikis is a girl's best friend?
Right. Right.
Waist beads are
That's
a girl's
right.
best friend.
Oh, come on.
Like you haven't gotten her waist beads with rare African stones from every continent, from every country on the continent. Oh, you don't love her. Now what happens is, guess what happened? There's an industry overnight where we got people in Uganda, Nigeria, getting these stones, making these waist beads. Now, the standard of what it takes to show affection for a Black woman is this. We just created an economy.
Right.
We just created thousands of jobs, generated billions of dollars, generated a whole cultural ethos, generated new mating traditions and habits. That's cultural power, defining what's important to us, regardless of what the other predominant culture is saying. And that's the opportunity we have, but it's in whose hands? It's y'all hands, It's in our hands too, in terms of the marketing. But this is why Elijah Muhammad was like, nope, we eat bean pies and we wear bow ties, because guess how many people made millions of dollars making bean pies? People made bean pies, people made suits, people made traditional MGT outfits, FOI outfits. To this day, there are businesses and families who thrive from this cultural ethos. And so a lot of that has to do with us changing our own taste on purpose. How do we get some of our cultural icons? How do we get a Jay-Z or somebody to prompt a new cultural icon? This is the deep work we're talking about. So let's say that we decide, I don't know, we can think about whatever. Let's say wedding dresses are made with indigo, pure indigo, not the fake shit. And it got to be printed out on, Nigerian waxcloth, with this thickness, you know what I mean? Us defining that reality, all it takes is a Beyonce to say that. What? Yeah. You didn't know? What? Tiger's Eye is a girl's best friend. What?
Right. Exactly.
Tiger's Eye? Guess what everybody gonna do? I got that Tiger's Eye for you, baby. You know what I'm saying? And now we're making billions. So we have the power. We just have to bring that union between the and I know I'm talking deep and esoteric, but the revolutionary change community with the cultural icon community, because those are the ones that communicate the shift. We're the ones that think of the shift, create the shift. They're the ones who communicate it,
Right. It's just what worries me is that things like the mushroom, like really sacred, powerful things, like we'll use the mushroom for example, it's being commercialized and it's getting watered down. And what I don't want to see is this just turn into some old, it's like how they've done crystals and how they've done sage. Like, you completely watered it down.
It's watered down and now it's laughable, and that's part of the reason, like, on one hand, you don't want to be overly dogmatic, but this is a beautiful opportunity for our people to create spiritual, cultural traditions which impact us for generations, and that's why, like, a lot of my talks about setting, ritual before the event, after the event, how do we smudge the room? What oils and things do we use to open up that, you know what I'm saying? All of this stuff is like a new religion. You dig what I'm saying? And if we take it that way, we can be the new Catholic Church. You know what I'm saying?
It makes me laugh.
For real. But yeah, it's a lot of suckers out there that's perpetrating, sucker MCs, as I call them.
Yeah.
They're always going to be around. But you're right. I'm getting very tired of the spiritual hustler, man. They like the equivalent of people in front of the baseball game hawking tickets. You know what I'm saying?
It's a concern for me. I also understand it because when I walk in, you know what I'm saying, Lexington is 75% Caucasian. When I walk in the room with my fro and my jewelry, and I'm talking about mushrooms and sage and spiritual enlightenment and stuff, the white people are just like so fascinated, and I become this like token or like this prize, and they just want to give me their money. And so I get it. I understand the opportunity, but I have a true heart of service. Like I just want to help people.
That's
And
the difference.
Yeah, that's the difference. And that's why my work is working with the feminines and reactivating their true heart of service, because feminines are natural helpmates. We want to help people. Like that is our natural disposition, is to help, especially the children. So just working with the feminine to get back to our true place of power, and so that we can use this energy to really birth a new reality. Like we have the power to birth a completely different reality.
Yeah, I mean, like I always joke, I say, if y'all say, oh my God, we love guys that wear polka dot stockings, guess what we're going to buy?
Right.
See, and that's where the cultural power of the sisters are in. And yeah, utilizing the sacred medicine. And I'm not dogmatic, because we all come from, I think, religious abuse, regardless of what religion. But there's a need for a spiritual system. That's not, because right now we do what we can. We take a little Ifa, we take a little that. We try to create this cultural fabric. But the long, hard work, you just imagine the original Jews who wrote the Torah. There are people who wrote, they're humans who wrote the Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, the Quran. These are people who sat down and consciously put together these precepts. It's a monumental challenge, but this is the type of work people here in the diaspora, we have to do. You know, that's what this sacred plant work is about. It's like, okay, you tapping in, you know, a lot of people come out and they're like, all right, what do I do now? Like, start being a cultural producer. You know what I mean? Like, okay, once again, the ability to create a cultural power. Okay, well, most of the times when we're doing trips, what do we notice? People get chilly, right? They want to wrap themselves in a sacred blanket.
Every time.
Who's going to create the sacred blanket with the patterns and the adinkra that flows with us? Bam, that's a business. If somebody's listening, you owe me one for free. Somebody might say, yo, this is the sacred blanket for mushrooms. It might have a little clasp on it. Now, I know I'll buy some for my people. You'll buy some. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay, we need something for post integration. Well, who's creating the sacred journal? You know what I'm saying? Who's creating the sacred holidays? That's special for us. We know for tens of thousands of years, Sirius rising, August 13th, the Helikial rising, for thousands and thousands of years, this was like our New Year's. Well, that's an opportunity. Sirius rising. It's warm everywhere African people are. It's an opportunity to create a special spiritual holiday, which has validity, which has etched in stone, which traditional people at home. Bam, that's a cultural product. We can make that we got Kwanzaa, depending on your opinion about it, but this can be another one. So people are often, they come out of these sacred altered states and they're like, oh, what do I do now? I got to sell packs of mushrooms. And no, we supposed to be cultural producers. You know, we're supposed to be producing the tradition, and that's where the bag is at. So when you finally say, oh, the Helikial rising is August 13th, and now there's festivals and celebrations all over the nation. And we say, oh, we celebrate this by brewing up large pots of BSOP and pouring libations to a community ancestral altar, where there's somebody making ancestral altars. There's somebody getting paid off BSOP. There's somebody getting paid off the festival. There's families coming together, looking forward to August 13th. Now there's special tradition. This is the work we're supposed to be cultural producers, cultural workers, you know. But everybody wants to be in the marketplace. They want to be the cat, you know. I got this. They want to be the hawker. But cultural producers are the ones that influence things. Those are the influencers, you know.
Yeah.
So I just try to tell people, like, in this space, you can do more. Like, you know, folks like us, we doing the spirit healing. But for those people that just want the bag, it's okay. Get the bag. Make that mushroom blanket. Okay, get the bag. Organize this festival for the Helika Rising of Sirius. But don't get in the way of the spirit workers. Just get them out the way. If we need business, we need art, we need culture, we need all of that stuff. But don't try to front like you're a spiritual worker when that's not your lane. And it's nothing wrong with
that. Let's get into it. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Pause, because this is something that's been big. The people, the women that I currently counsel, this is a big issue. Is that they fronting because they feel they judge themselves, and they feel like they have to they're less spiritual if they charge money for their services, or whatever. And then there's also the case of it's like a two-sided thing, because it's also, I'm seeing people charge way fucking too much. You're charging $400 for a cacao ceremony? Are you fucking kidding me, bitch?
Yeah, that's exploitive at that point, right? That's fucking exploitive. Yeah. So what happens? Is this is where just like the artist needs an agent. You a healer, you need an agent. Don't be trying to negotiate prices for your work, because you're not good at that shit. No. You either, like you say, undercharge or overcharge. So now my business heads that want to be in this space, you be agents for us. Set up the honorariums we're supposed to get for these speakings, so that we don't rob ourselves or try to rob the people inviting us. That's your role. You know what I mean? And so we have to recognize that too, as like workers, because you'll find us going around trying to become music and video editors, fucking accountants, marketing specialists. You know what I'm saying? Then we forget, no, this is your lane. You know what I'm saying? And now, so yeah, it's room for everybody, but everybody has to be enough. And I, you know, we can break down, because part of what I'm doing, everybody's listening now. I'm working on a publication now called The 6 Sacred Sectors, basically. That's another piece. And it's going to define the work in the sacred plant community in the 6 sectors. So people can have their space. You know, they can find out, oh, this is what I'm good at. Yeah, it's not, you know, you need people to grow. You know, you need people to test. You need people to policy. You need lobbyists, like we're talking about. We need people to hold space. We need business people to produce products. You know what I mean? We need,
but those business people also need to be investing that money back into the community, because what's happened, like traditionally as a healer, I should not be paying my own bills. Like traditionally, the community would take care of me. And when you're sick, you come to me and I take care of you. But what's happening is people are making, I'm going to get mad. People are, they're getting this snake venom training. They're getting this Sananga training. And then I'm telling you, I'm going to get mad. And then they just abandon their teachers, and they abandon the communities that taught them all of this in the first place. Like, how could you do that?
It's happened to me so many times, you know, but that's up to us to do better vetting. You know, sometimes our heart is so open to share and to be teachers that we got to be that stern teacher. Like you remember Dr. Strange, when he was like, I want to learn the mystic arts. He said, no, close the door. I want to learn, no, close the door. Sit out in the rain. No. You know, and we as teachers, we have to be that way. Sometimes we have to guard our heart chakra and not be like, you really want to learn? Like, nope. Like, what do I got to do? You got to fill this shot shaker up with chopsticks.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? For real, because we have to have a system for vetting people's intention and their willingness to do the work. You know, like I had an elder, he had a tradition called the Cup of Water Club. You know, people be like, oh, we want to learn. So we have 6 or 7 people that want to learn. And he's like, your first assignment next week, I need you to bring a cup of water. And he could tell who was bullshitting. Some people, they'll fill it up at the spigot outside the building. Some people might buy a bottle of water, fill it up right before class. But some people come in with a nice crystal glass. Their shit is filled. They got a cover over it. You know what I'm saying? And they present it in a way where the master like, you really give a shit. And you could tell, oh, you just bought the water before you got here. You filled the shit up on a water fountain down the hallway. You know, so ways that you can test people's tenacity and willingness to do this work is something that we, once again, cultural producers, we need rites of passage, don't we? Right. Yeah, we need rites of passage. That's a cultural product. We can't imitate other groups from the continent. We have to create our own rites of passage. Something that people down in your place, my place, where they can be like, oh, you want the rites of passage? Oh, you did, what'd you do you want your day 3 fasting? Yeah, okay, well, let's see, where'd you get your cloth or sash? And, oh, well, who's your teacher? Oh, yeah, okay. So now it's a common bond. This is like frats, you know, you meet a Q from Florida and a Q from Michigan, they could both do the same dances and talk about the same experiences, and that creates that bond. Cultural production, that's the type of stuff we could be doing. You know? Instead of, I'm gonna be the next king of microdoses. I'm gonna be the next spiritual chakra aligner with mushroom. Nah, man, why don't you just create a damn rites of passage? Why don't you write a book that can help codify this stuff? Why don't you create songs that we can sing collectively? So when I come down there and we do group work, we all know the song. It's so much more to do. We just have to be creative with how do we contribute to this space.
But we need people like you who are willing to create the 6 sectors, because especially for me, I just didn't have any guidance. I didn't have any guidance when I first got introduced to the mushroom. There was nobody guiding me through this. Like I was on Google and I was on YouTube watching Kalindi's videos on searching through YouTube, trying to find every single one of his videos. Like I had no one who was holding me accountable.
Right.
So, and that's a big part of it, because although, yes, there need to be rites of passage, but also the spiritual gatekeeping is fucking ridiculous as well. So it
is, yeah. But, you know, individuals like yourself, your accountability was the work you had to put in. You know what I mean? So even though you might minimize it, the person coming up to you like, hey, I want to learn, they ain't put in the work you put in. They ain't put in the scratching your head. Damn, I wonder what this is about. Oh shit, oh, I messed up, or wrong person. They didn't go through. So we can't minimize that. In fact, you put yourself through a rite of passage in a sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I literally have like descendants now, or like, I don't know what you call them, disciples, students. Once I was in my thing, I was sharing it with other women in my community. Like, yo, this is what I went through. Now they've went through it. They've done 8 grams. Like this one's done 7. Like it had like a ripple effect. Yeah. And now they're teaching other people. Yeah. And it kept trickling down.
Yeah, so there's a place for gatekeeping in the sense that people understanding it, because like you're saying with this venom, part of the issue is people don't want to recognize their lineage. You know, I was walking through the woods and got bit by a snake and had a vision, and the snake taught me how to heal myself. And not, you know, whatever, man. You know what I mean? They don't want to recognize their lineage. So there is a certain value to gatekeeping. You know, it's a certain value to be like, nope, we're not eating for 7 days. What? Yeah. And then after that, we're doing this. Then after that, rites of passage, because you get people to appreciate it more. And I had to learn that early in the days. You know, when I first started, I was like, oh my God, everybody needs to know about this. You know, oh, you hurting soul, here, take some. And these same people are the ones that turn around, put on their big hat and be like, I'm the mushroom king and all this. And it's like, so I learned, no, you got to take people through some shit. Just imagine how many, I remember it took 5 or 6 years for me to even see my first damn mushroom. I was reading books, going to lectures.
Really?
Rice. Yeah. You know, Baba Kalindi, he was talking to us for years before I would say about 4 years before we were able to experience it. And like, he wouldn't tell us exactly what it was, where to find it. He'd be like, look, I remember I'm sitting here with my brother. He'd be like, it's in that book. And then we'd go buy the book. And we'd be looking through the book like, yeah, where's the mushroom? I don't see it. And one of the books, it was just a symbolic picture of a church. But he was telling us, if you look in the structure of the church door, it's the mushroom. But he didn't tell us to look for the mushroom. He said the secret is in that book. So we like, what the fuck is the secret? We reading about literature and all of that. And he was like, what the fuck? And we looking at the cover, like, we don't see any symbols. So the secret is sacred, the sacred is secret. And it should be, it's always been that way. So part of what we have to do is balance that negative association we have with secret societies, because they existed in Africa. They existed throughout our community. Now this whole Freemason stuff, you know, the Western expression is different, but secret societies are important. One, they maintain the integrity of sacred traditions, and two, they keep out a lot of the riffraff. And three, one of the things you'll recognize is when people go into these sacred spaces, everybody don't receive the same information. You know, you got you got people in there that get chased around all day, like, oh, the demons and the gargoyles were chasing me. You got other people like, no, I sat with the ascended masters and they taught me the science of vibration and how to open up portals. You know, so everybody doesn't go to the same realm. Everybody isn't permitted to go to the same realm. And so traditional rites of passage and secret societies will teach people how to get qualified to enter those deeper realms of Amenta. And if you didn't go through the rites of passage, and you know that when you go in there, they can tell, like, they scan you like, oh yeah, you go to the carnival, you go to the library, you know, you go to the lobby, you know what I'm saying? We don't know what to do. You just sit here and look at visions all day.
Oh God.
You got to go get with the teachers. It's something for you to learn tonight. So then there were techniques that the masters knew to show their students so that they can enter the deeper realms. Now people just like, here, take this aphi, go home and eat it. And they be like, oh, I saw, you know, a lot. And I felt, yeah, you felt special. But those divine scrolls, nobody taught you access. Because in that sacred tradition, your lineage is important. Because just like I had to come in under Kalindi's lineage, and in his early experiences in these sacred realms, yeah, you got to fight. You know, you've been there before as a lineage starter. They looking at you, what the fuck you doing here? You know, you might have to fight negative energy. You might have to clear negative energy. You might have to be like a cave explorer, go deeper and deeper and deeper and find realms that you didn't know existed. So once you do that, now people coming through your lineage, they're like, oh, okay, well, you know, you good. You know what I'm saying? You with the right tradition. So those people, those of us that go into the deeper realms and are accepted to the deeper realms is more than just, here, take these mushrooms. No, it's you are clearing space for them, and they coming in with your credentials. They coming in like, oh, y'all fam, what up? It's like coming in flagging the right flag or wearing the right, oh, what? We Crip fam, we rolling 60. Are you good? You with OG? Oh, come on, you good.
Wow.
You know, and that's the responsibility we have as tradition holders, is that even when we're watching space, our job is to keep those negative energies from coming in, to prevent walk-ins from coming in, to put that protection of light around those people. So that's why you get people like, I need you to sit. I took mushrooms, it was horrible, but when I sat with you, it was beautiful. Of course, because you're coming under my goddamn bubble of protection. You know what I'm saying? And
that's wild.
Yeah, all spiritual traditions know that. That's why some people are like, no, I'm studying under Guru Nanda. Fuck that. Or I'm a student of Swami so-and-so. Or I'm, you know, because depending on your teacher and the amount of work and reverence that they put in, it dictates your spiritual path. And your students, you carry their karmic debt. So if you bring on a student who on some bullshit, yeah, on the other side, you're going to have to deal with their bullshit. And on the physical side, we know that. So that's why secret societies were important, because you had to make sure that the student applying was qualified and worthy, and that you yourself weren't signing up for some shit that would ruin your karmic bank account, for lack of a better word. I tell people to read Maria Sabina. That's a classic example of what happens when your spiritual bank account gets robbed because of your compassion and you opening it up to too many people. You know what I'm saying? So read it. I tell people to read her story in depth, not the time life version, but her story. And she'll talk about how she fell out with her little saints and her little angels. And they were like, stop bringing all these people by. Stop just giving it to everybody. what, you know, Maria, it was me and you. We would go in on these deep journeys, and now every time you come and you got all these college students, what the fuck? You know, this relationship we develop in the other realm is sacred. And it's something to be passed down and then taught how to maintain. So that's where these traditions come in, you know.
Yeah. Pause. Because I needed to hear that, because I couldn't understand why. I felt like the mushroom was beating me up. Like, why do you keep putting me through these journeys and these initiations? Like, why do I feel like my journey is harder than everybody else's? But it's like, no, you had to learn that because of what we are going to bring through you. We had to make sure that you were strong enough to handle what we are what's going to come after you. So it's like I did 15 grams for my birthday, and I could not understand, like, why am I still fighting this same fucking demon? Like, yo, what the fuck? And I realized it was me. It was me.
Yeah.
It was me. It was this lack of belief in myself that I'm having to face over and over and over. Like, no, we need, like, I've been through every fucking initiation you could think of, but the it's like the final apple under my foot. The one thing I couldn't let go of was actually believing in my power. It's like that was the part of my program that was the deepest, and it was the hardest root to pull out. Because I was so attached to this belief.
Part of the hardest thing to understand is that, listen, there's no guru, there's no initiation, there's no holy book. You know what I'm saying? You are your own master. You know, that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. It's like, and I feel for them and I understand. They be like, oh man, I went on 12 grams, and then I got initiated in the E-file. Like, that's ass backwards. Like, no. The part of you understanding is that you are, you no longer, like, oh, it's Tuesday, I can't wear this color because so-and-so gonna be mad at me. No. Once you tap in them realms, you sitting at the table with them people.
Yeah.
You like Shango. You like Shango, what the fuck? What? You at the table arguing with them. They arguing back. You're not an underling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's ooh, wow. Because oh God. Because I had a conversation with death, but we were like friends. Like, I don't know if I don't know if you could call it death, the Grim Reaper. I don't know what it was. I don't have a name for it. It was I just call it death. But we were equals. We weren't. It wasn't death is above or below me. Like, it was a part of me. Like, I have control and say so. And it's just, oh God, why do you do this? Why do you say this stuff?
I often get this metaphor, like you are a child born with the wealth of the kingdom. And this is explained in the Osirian drama, in the full Osirian drama. On one hand, you have a pedophile preacher uncle, steeped in all their righteousness, but flawed, heavily flawed. Other side, you got your pimp hustler uncle, very versed in what they versed in. Now, that pimp hustler uncle take you through the streets. I'm gonna show you how to fight, how to get money, how to look out for these suckers. You know what I'm saying? How to handle yourself, how to be wise, how to avoid getting locked up, all of that. I'm gonna teach you the streets so you know how to get around. I'm gonna introduce you to my friends, and you grateful as shit to that uncle. But at the same time, that uncle like, man, go on drink this motherfucking liquor, man. Go on sniff this heroin pack, man. Go on hold this motherfucking pistol. Why? Because he want access to your fucking bank account. So you say, fuck that, uncle. You trying to turn me out. Then you go to the other uncle. He say, you right. Fuck that, uncle. You need to be in prayer, fasting, and meditation. You need to read this holy book. You need to blah, blah, blah. And you also need to take a shower with me. The fuck? Now you realize both your uncles on some bullshit, right? You go home and you start looking through your diary and you realize, like, wait a minute. I own the fucking city? control the police. So now your uncles come knocking and you're like, fuck you. Because we are neither sunk in the realm of the material, nor are we beholden to the divine. They both have agendas for you. You know, this is the hidden mystical symbolism of the cross. It's not Jesus bleeding to death. It's you got your right path, your left path, but the only path that really counts is the middle path. This is why in the picture of Antioch, you had one side, you had the robber, and then you got two thieves. You got the crook and I think the murderer, right? You got one looking at Jesus, the other one looking away from Jesus. You know what I'm saying? What it symbolizes is that you got one Luciferian influence looking at you. You got one that's worldly and materialist looking away. And neither one of them are valid. What's valid is the one in the middle, the Christ consciousness. You know what I'm saying? So we are neither beholden to Jehovah nor Lucifer. You know what I mean? Who is Lucifer? Well, we think Lucifer is the dope dealer. No, Lucifer is the preacher, the imam, the rabbi. Yeah. What is Lucifer? Luciferian is the light bearer, those who bear light, those who appear seemingly well-meaning, those who appear seemingly righteous, will blind the shit out you and have you justifying genocide on behalf of righteousness. You had the other Jehovah side that have you all up in the Garden of Eden, attached to the material world, thinking this is all it is. You know what I mean? We are beholden to neither one of those. We are sovereign beings on our own. We are the gods and goddesses. This is a birthright neither side wants us to know. Capitalist world don't want us to know that, nor does the secular or the religious world want us to know that. That's what this sacred mushroom brings us, that balance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, something you mentioned on the high dose panel at the 2022 Detroit Psychedelic Conference was merging with the Godhead and and realizing, like, every time I take a mushroom trip, that's the first thing that happens. It's like I remember, I have this thing of like, oh fuck, I forgot. So I just want to talk about that for a second because it's basically everything you just said. But there was a lot of judgment I had to work through and like weave through as far as arrogance and believing that because I call myself a powerful being, because I refer to myself as a god, that I must be this arrogant asshole. But it's not even about, to me, it's not even like me in my full power as a god and with a heart of service, it empowers me to help you even more. Like I'm not even focused on me, I'm focused on helping you. So it's like there's a lot of arrogance in the psychedelic community. And I get it. But also I don't really know how to, I don't think it's a matter of combating it or fixing it. But I do think we just need to have more conversations around, okay, like if you merge with the Godhead, like for example, my 5-gram trip, I don't know what you call him, if you call him Firewater or He-Sun. He was with me when I did my 5-gram trip, and he said like, yo, you took that very well. You did a very good job. Like a lot of people come out of a 5. It was my first trip ever. A lot of people come out of that and they kind of become arrogant. Especially their first time. And he was like, yo, you did really well. So I just want to just speak on like the arrogance and like, what do we do? How do we educate people around that?
Yeah, well, that's where we look at the ancient scriptures and the ancient writings, whether we look at the 12 trials of Hercules, we look at the Osirian drama, we look at the, even if from the Christian aspect, the 12 temptations of Christ, you know, they all talk about it. You're going to go, and this is part of the initiation. Your part of the initiation is you're going to go into a phase where they're going to seduce you. Just like in the Bible, just like in the Quran. Oh, you are the greatest. You are, let us, you know, you have to move through that Maya or illusion. Then you go to the seduction realm where you just in 8-hour orgy, and it's like, oh God, ecstasy, oh Lord, you know what I'm saying? You got to move through that. Then you go through the boogeyman. You got to go through that. And then you go through the illusion of loneliness. Then you go through the illusion of death. Then you go through. You have to go through these trials to realize they're all illusions. Hell, that's what the Wizard of Oz was about. The 12 trials you have to go. So arrogance is something that comes with it, and that's part of what you like as you work with your students. That's why we always say, no, you got to stick with me. Ain't no just going on no trip and then now you go start an ashram somewhere and shit. No, because as a teacher, you know they're gonna go through this phase, and you have to recognize where they're at when they're in that phase. You know.
Yeah.
We've all been through it. We've all come out like, damn, I didn't know I was God Almighty. You know, I'm here to save the world. Like, you know, and then so we go through those phases because these sacred plants want to know who's true. And some of us go through that illusionary phase, and now I'm arrogant. Others go through that phase. Now I'm here to fuck the world and heal them through fucking. The next one, I'm here to get this bag. You could tell what stage they got stuck at, right?
Bro.
You got others
wow.
That, you know what I mean?
You're speaking very loudly right now.
You could tell, you know, you got other people that, you know, they come out like, oh, it's demons and dragons and, you know. So very few went through all of those stages. You know what I mean? So you could just talking to people, you're like, okay, I see where you at. No judgment, but it's real, you know?
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
From your perspective, like where I'm at. Because I can't, you know what I'm saying? It's hard for me to see myself sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to just see you and your work you do, but it seems like you've been through that stuff. Like you know, just based on your post, you know, you are able to point out the bullshit, but you also to point out the bullshit in yourself. You know what I'm saying? You're not telling people what they need to do. You're not telling people what they do to fix their life. You suggesting, you know, and your interaction is more collegial. I don't see you like perching yourself as, you know, Queen Kali, but you know, this is just from my observation. So it seems like you've been doing the work, you know. Yeah, you know, but then the illusion of loneliness or the illusion of lack, that might be where you're phasing through now. You know what I mean?
I think that just this recent 15-gram trip has really gotten me through that because so basically I was zoomed out. I was snatched out of my mind. Like, you know, the movie Doctor Strange, when they like literally snatched out of my fucking body by, it was essentially like a giant Shiva whose skin was like the stars. I'm pretty sure I was just translating it as Shiva because that's like the god, the Hindu god. So like my mind is translating what this is. That's just the best translation I could come up with. Because for me, I always tell people like during trips, a lot of what you're seeing is your mind's translation of what it thinks is happening because it's trying to speak to you in your own language. Like if I'm not in a place where I can accept that I'm on a spaceship, I'll translate it as I'm on a bus or something, like because my mind isn't ready to accept, no ho, you were on a spaceship. So it was just a giant Shiva with skin like the stars, snatched me out of my mind. I mean, snatched me out of my body and made me see like my life, not even my life. It just made me look down and showed me all of the energetic influences. So the lack mindset is an energetic influence. It's not something that I'm actually like, it's not me. It's just an energy that's present around me that's influencing me. And if I don't want it, I just shoo it away. Like you don't have to have it.
Yeah. And that's an important point is that, you know, even as you do this work, there's going to be constant attacks. There's going to be constant psychic attacks. There's going to be attacks to bring you back into the material. You know, all these illusionary realms, they don't go away. You just have to recognize them for what they are. You know,
that's right.
You know, the more you recognize them, the stronger you're able to repel them. But they, you know, they revisit from time to time. it's just as you move, your ability to vanquish becomes easier. You know,
and for me, it's okay. Like when they come, it's you don't have to get upset. You don't have to get angry. You don't have to feel like you did something wrong. It's teaching you something. If anything, it's just trying to teach you something.
Yeah. You know, you start hearing that negative voice peeking around your mental corner. Wow, you know it's not gonna work. You be like, man, you back again. But now, unlike before, where you might have thought that was like they were woven into who you are, and like, oh, I've dealt with you. Get the hell on, as opposed to, it taking 5 years to deal with it. You've dealt with it, and so now you know how to vanquish it and move on with your life.
Yeah.
Big.
I think the reason why it was so hard to let go of those mindsets was because those were my family. That's my family. Like my whole family thinks like this. So I'm not just changing me, I'm changing the energy around my whole family. And I think a lot of people, when they get into this mushroom work, you have to understand you're not just alchemizing energy for you. Whoever you live with, the people you're around, you're alchemizing energy for everybody. So it's gonna be difficult.
Yeah. And then when people say, oh, the work, well, that's the work. Sometimes it's going on that 10 grams and talking with your uncle who's an asshole, who needs to get out your granny's house, or talking with that sister who's selfish as fuck. And, that's where the work is. Sometimes you spend your whole night or your whole journey clearing space for other people who may not even know the work you're doing. And then you come back to waking state and you just be like, look at Thanksgiving. Everybody's at the table. Everybody getting along. They don't know what happened.
Crazy that you just said that, because that's how we had Thanksgiving this year. Literally everyone sat at the table. And it was like, when I tell you I've been working on this for so long to get my family just to sit down and eat a meal together. Thank you. It's crazy you just said that. Thank you.
That's the work. And unfortunately, you're not going to get a trophy.
Nope. Not a thank you. No one's going to acknowledge it.
And that's what checks the ego, right? It keeps the area. You're not going to get a ticker tape parade, even though like, shit, I've been working toward this. And you can't even tell people. I mean, might be somebody in your family you could tell, but it may not be anybody you could say, yo, so that's the work, it's not. Always the thanks, the reward often comes from seeing everybody at the table, not from somebody saying, you're so powerful, man, you got all kind of ashe. It's just being grateful, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's where I think the work I did before I was ever even introduced to the mushroom, I feel like set the foundation, because I gained a heart of service before I even had my first microdose. Like, I literally, I ran a coat drive by myself. Like, that's wild. Like, I literally built thingies, like buckets, big ass buckets, put them at different local businesses, and then once a week would go collect all the coats that people would drop off. Then I'd wash them and then drive around the city and pass them out. That was the work Spirit put me through before, years before.
Thank you. So when we talk about what qualifies you or others, that's what does it. Like, don't wait till your first mushroom experience. Now you be like, oh, we need to feed the babies. Nah, if you weren't about this work before this, don't jump in now. And even if you weren't about it before, when you start having experience with sacred, put your work in. Like, you can't, if you haven't opened your heart up and learned to love and give unconditionally, you're not even qualified to, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. Like, you see people who like not a mushroom guru. Like, what have you done before this? Like, who have you helped on your own? And that's one thing that irritates me. But I salute you for that, because it's not enough people who like putting the shit down. They're like, oh, I'm conscious now. No, you should have been conscious. These mushrooms don't. I mean, they help bring out the divine within, but it don't fundamentally change your character. I mean, it does. In a way, but if you were a good person, you was a good person before this shit. If you believed in spirit, if you love people, if you were about changing the conditions that we live in, you were doing this before the mushroom. And the only thing the mushroom is going to do is enhance your ability to do that. It's just another tool, a very potent tool. So I'm glad you said that, because yes, a lot of people who think the work is just going in. No, no, no. It's during waking hours, you know what I mean? Handing out food, or during waking hours when you ain't you might read to some babies during waking hours, like doing real work out here, loving people for real, for real.
Right.
That's why the halls of Amenta open up to you. Oh yeah, she good. She good. You know, put her work in. You know what I mean? And it's like swimming. It's like swimming instruction. You know, you don't just be like, 20 feet, start swimming. No, first we're gonna stay out here. You're gonna do some sit-ups so you can develop your habit. Then you're gonna learn how to hold your breath. Then you're gonna learn the flutter kick. You know, then you're gonna hold the sides of the swimming pool with the bungee, with the kickboard, and just learn to kick. Then you're gonna learn how to put your face under the water. Then, you know, not just here, just jump in the water and do this. You know, you know. So I'm glad you said that. Because that's, you know, that's a key thing I look for. Like, what have you been doing before this mushroom?
Right.
Some people come to you in pain and distress who want to become better people, but other people want to become the ghetto guru. Well, okay, well, what have you been doing before this shit? And if you haven't been doing that before, if you haven't opened your heart chakra, if you haven't opened up your mind's eye to recognize the, you know, the pain, if you haven't opened up your mind's ear to hear the unspoken language that goes on between people, see, if you haven't opened up your stomach chakra,
that part,
right, to develop a real appetite for change, right? If you haven't developed your solar plexus, you know, where you are willing to transcend the illusion of physical, you know, for pursuit of something greater, you're not, you know, this is what the chakra work is about. You know what I'm saying? This is what developing your throat to speak the truth when you need to, right? Developing the third eye to know when to move and when not to. You know, developing your crown chakra to provide that protection, that astral protection from those parasites. You know, this is, you master your kundalini. So you're not trying to hunch on people in the middle of a fucking mushroom session. You know what I'm saying? These are things that you have, these are the rites of passage. So men, if you haven't mastered your dick, why are you trying to master your crown? If you haven't mastered your appetite, if you haven't mastered your Shakti or your willpower, if you haven't mastered the heart, and this is a lifelong pursuit, but if you haven't begun pursuing that mastery, don't try to be the ghetto guru. You because you haven't.
I call them Walmart shamans.
Walmart shamans.
Acacia taught me that word.
Yeah, you know, just add water and bam, look at here. Change my outfit. You know what I mean? Throw something on the wall. You know, pick my favorite incense.
Oh no, I like this one. Become enlightened in 30 days.
Yeah, that's so deep, right? Yeah. You know what I do in that case? I'm like, become enlightened in 30 days. I'm gonna slash your tires and drain your bank account. That's the first lesson. You see?
Hey, but that's a part of it, honestly. Like, I'll tell you, when I tell you I've been through some initiations,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Then the second lesson is you got to watch a sick neighbor pass and you got to care for them, shit like that. Then the third lesson is you got to watch police brutality and respond. Then the fourth lesson is, you know, you got to go through some hells. Then you be enlightened. And in 30 days, I put you through that hell. You may be enlightened, but you probably still be dealing with the shit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you want to be in 30 days. That's why the old parables, you know, like, teach me, master, they're in the boat. Oh, you want to learn? Boom, I push you in the water. I'm drowning. Good. Motherfucker, you want to learn, you got to go through some. So that in tradition, those people who are qualified to be these are people who've been through the most hell. Either you've been through a severe sickness, you almost died, or you just been through a lot of trials through life. Like, you earn these stripes through perseverance. You know what I mean?
And you keep going.
In tradition, if you hadn't faced death, you know, whether through sickness, war, or some other existential crisis, they didn't even consider you. You're like, no, your life was, and there's nothing wrong. I mean, if you have a good life, you got a good life. Shit, enjoy it. But for those people who've been through a couple shits, you know, it qualifies you for some work, you know, to help people.
The thing is, though, I think I posted a video about this last night. There's this glorification of being a healer. And I'd be like, yo, y'all don't want this. First of all, this life chose me. First of all,
Yeah.
I didn't choose this. This is not what I wanted. This is not what I asked for. I asked for something else. I was led to this place. And I have been through so much. Like I'm doing a interview with a midwife, and she just had her first baby. And I was telling her, doulas, we often have the hardest childbirth stories because we are being called and missioned to help other women have babies. But if that type of conviction wasn't placed in our spirit, we wouldn't have the appetite for change that we have now. So it's like,
or the heart to give us.
Right. So it's like, you quit calling yourself a healer. Like, you trust me, bro, you don't want this life.
No.
Like, if your heart is not compelling you to do this, don't go do what your heart wants to do.
Yeah. And that's where the 6 sectors comes in, some people, and it's okay. Like, like you say, you don't want this. Like, you want to go through the training for this shit? Not really.
Right.
Because
you sure?
some of us signed up for this shit before we were born. And then we was going through it like, God damn, why did I sign up? What the fuck am I doing? What the fuck? Why did I do this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, right. Damn it. There's a fine print in the contract, So
that's right.
Yeah, that's so important that, the only way, to open your heart, you have to, you got to feel pain. You got to understand what loneliness feels like, understand what sickness, sadness feels like, to have that, the capacity to have the compassion.
Right.
The best lifeguard is somebody who almost drowns. You know what I mean? They know what it looks like. They know what it feels like. They know,
right.
And that goes for a lot. I'm an educator. Why? Because shit, I had major struggles and I had to learn how to become a scholar, And since I learned how to be a scholar from struggles, I felt I was qualified to teach. That's why people don't do well in math, because usually the math teacher is the straight A math student. So they be like, it's always been easy for you. Yeah, so you don't understand what the average student been through. So anyway, that's a whole nother diatribe. But yeah, the people who are called to healing oftentimes have had to heal themselves.
That makes me curious, because I've often struggled with picking a title. Like, I don't know what to call myself. Like, I don't even like to call myself a healer, because I feel like in order to call myself a healer, it perpetuates the narrative of sick people. Like, I don't want to call myself, I don't like that word. It's not something I'm saying.
Yeah, just like the term medicine, but that's the cultural work we have to do.
Right.
As a people, do we call it mushroom? Do we call it shrooms? Do we call it psychedelic? None of those I really like.
I like technology.
I like technology.
But
what's the term? You know what I mean? What do we call the work we do? We don't want to say healers. We damn sure don't want to say shaman. We don't want to say guru. We don't want to say sifu and none of this. So, that's the cultural work that has to be done.
That's why I like doula, because a doula is just someone who helps you give birth. I help people spiritual births, physical births.
Yes. Now I'm gonna ask a mundane question. Is that gender based? Do they have a doulan, or is that just
No, it's neutral. Yeah, no, there are male doulas too. Yeah.
Okay. I know I'm old school, but
a doulo.
Like a doulo, a doo-doo. No, I'm talking shit.
Because there's like midwife. So is there like a mid-husband? Like midwife, mid-husband, right? But no, but also I can see how this is really more for a woman to do. It is. Because I have a whole portal in my body. You do not.
Yeah. In fact, y'all do thrive best in this sacred plant world. It's not, y'all are the predominant, expression and masters of it, definitely. So yeah, y'all do have a big role, and it's been traditional that way. There are men, there are wizards and sorcerers amongst us, but generally, y'all are the ones that are rooted in spirit, So yeah, we have to think of a term for this work we do.
We do. We're gonna listen. Me and you have work to do. I don't know if you put two and two together yet. Me and you specifically, we got work to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this. I don't even know how long we've been talking, like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got things to do today, but so I have a new segment for season 2 where we end the podcast speaking life into this next chapter. It can be the rest of your day, it can be this next year, it can be the next 10 years, whatever you want to speak life into. Just set the intention of I'm speaking life over this part of my life, and then we'll just go back and forth with some affirmations. You down?
Yes. Would you provide a model by starting first?
Yeah, I'm gonna go first.
All right.
And then you'll follow, okay?
All right.
So I'm feeling, I always continue to speak kindness and compassion. That's my main thing. I feel like there can't be enough kindness. Like, and it's also my thing, there can't be enough doulas. Everyone needs to have doula training. So I speak kindness and I speak compassion over this next cycle in my life.
All right. I speak universal love, compassion, and a ability for us to all speak our truths, like ability for us to speak honestly. When somebody says, how are you doing? Or how are you feeling? That we have open hearts and open ears to speak and listen.
You know what? I got to piggyback because I speak education. I speak education over my next cycle because I was, like I told you about the 15-year trip, just getting out of the lack mindset and stepping into my belief as a belief in my own power. I am an educator. I am a teacher. And I've been straying away from that because I didn't feel I had the credentials to call myself a teacher. But this conversation and the interview I did yesterday, babes, she's a professor. It's giving Professor Mwanga.
Hey,
I speak education over this next cycle. Yeah.
Right on. So as a former academic administrator, superintendent, I stamp your credentials.
Hey, I got a certificate, guys. Look at it.
I speak, and though it's not maintained, I speak financial stability for our workers, for those people out there doing it. I speak forward the air of legitimacy that will allow us to be heard and recognized in ways that we haven't in the past. I speak in renewed creativity for us to create those cultural norms, modes, behaviors, products, traditions that will make this something that we can share with many generations to come.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. I still can't believe you even agreed to do this.
No, I've been watching you. I see you doing it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your time, your wealth of knowledge. Like, you drop so many gems for free, bro.
I like, you see my hand, you say that's gonna have to stop, my homeboy. See?
I was gonna say, turn the camera. Who you talking to?
Brad Scott. You know Brad.
Oh, you could have came to say hello. We know each other. You could have came to say hello.
What up, though? I didn't even know that was you. I was just sitting back and do this thing.
Yeah.
Peace. I am very well. How are you?
Well, I'm doing good.
Your interview's next. I'm coming for you too.
Yeah. All right. Hey, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
You've been putting up some helpful insights on your Instagram, and like sometimes it seems like you talking straight to me.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. No, because I am.
Hey,
okay.
Both y'all. I be talking straight to both y'all. Like,
tap in like that.
Yeah, definitely.
For real, absolutely. But thank you so much. I'm gonna have to bring you back. Like, this cannot be our only episode.
No. And then we got a couple big things that I'd love to share with your audience as they come up. So let's try to do it again for sure.
So where can the people find you? How can they learn more about you and what you've got going on?
I forgot. My site is up. So you can go to Moudou Baqui, MoudouBaqui.com. And you can hit me on the gram at Moudou Baqui, MoudouBaqui. And I put too much stuff on YouTube. I'm gonna stop putting all my stuff up, but y'all can be found on YouTube as well under the same name. And Detroit has major things going on. So like I said, I keep everybody tuned in, and we're trying to create an excuse for people to come visit us. So I'll make sure to inform you and invite your family to come out, your listeners and whoever.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up another episode of Sacred Sound Expressions. Listen, if y'all not seeing already, I'm on some different shit this season. This season, we are increasing the authenticity. We are increasing the conversations that have been kept quiet. We're going to start saying this stuff publicly out loud, because these conversations need to be had. So if you are not liked and subscribed to my YouTube channel, what are you doing? You need to get into it, because you're going to miss out. This is literally episode 2 of a 13-week series. If you're not on game, you're going to miss out. So make sure you hit that subscribe button before you leave. Okay, peace.
Peace.